Welcome everyone to the Side Draft Podcast. This is an installment of our Why Fans Love Their Driver. This week is Davey Allison, our Hall of Fame edition.
Yeah, we're going back in the day to talk about Davey Allison, and he was just recently inducted to the Hall of Fame, and I've been a fan of his for a long time, so it'll be going to be interesting to talk to other fans and see what their thoughts are.
So all of these came from Facebook and Twitter. First one is from Tracy. Says, Davey was the perfect example of what it meant to be a part of the Alabama gang. He could build cars, work on cars, or race cars. He wasn't a helmet carrier, but I loved him because of everything else. He was dedicated to his sport, but I never saw him turn a fan away or act like signing an autograph was anything but a pleasure. He had grit. I think of Red still grinding at the dirt track at 86. Davey had the kind of grit. Broken ribs, broken wrist, no problem. Concussions? Yep, those two. He crawled in and got the job done. If I ever saw a family that had their faith tested, the Allisons have. By all account, he did things the right way when most couldn't have found their way at all.
That's very good, Tracy. That's a whole lot summed up in that one phrase right there. Yes, he really was dedicated to his fans, and he never did want to get out of the race car. No matter how beaten and banged he was, he still wanted to get in the race car and race, and always put his faith and family first, and that showed all through his life, and that really shined through. That's really good, Tracy.
Yeah, it really shows like the difference of the times, because back then you could race injured as long as you thought you was okay, you could race. Nowadays you can't hardly have any sort of injuries at all without having to get pulled out of the race. So that's really cool to see the difference between the decades.
Yes, you can really see how the sport has grown, and now they go through all the concussion protocol, and you got to be all cleared to drive. And then back then, if you was bandaged up and felt good, you can just get in the car.
Yeah, I remember like Richard Petty racing with broken neck. They were tough back then. I mean, not saying that they're not tough now, but it was really tough back then.
Yeah, they just really grinding it out, and they just hard-nosed racers back then.
Yeah. And next one is from Patty. Says, my husband was a Dale Senior fan, and I needed to pick a driver, and I couldn't pick the same one because that would not be fun. I liked the car first, but I fell in love with the driver. The way he treated the fans, the way he drove, the way he would work on the car. He had it all. No one else could come close except for maybe Dale Senior. I was in the Haviland 20 Years of Racing book about fans of the Haviland car. That was such an honor.
Wow, that's really good, Patty. Congratulations to be in that book with Davey. Back then, a lot of drivers did work on the cars, and they built their own cars, and there was a lot of hands-on back there. Now we got teams to work on it. Every once in a while you see a driver, they'll jump in there and help on the teams.
You got drivers like Jordan Anderson working on his own trucks. Yeah. We still have a little bit of that, but not too much. It's always fun to see people like Davey and Alan Kowicki working on their own cars and making their way up. Next one is from Linda. The rest from here on out is from Twitter. She says, had to pick a driver, and I like the black and white paint. Little did I know what a gentleman and great race car driver I picked until he became Rookie of the Year. Continued racing, broken bones and grief. He still raced. Racing fans and family and God were all important to him. He was one of a kind.
That's so true, Linda. Yes, it's really good to see him win a Rookie of the Year, because he was a really good driver back then.
Yeah, and you can tell a lot, how these fans connect to Davey with his personality, what's important to him. The fans are important, the racing aspect, how much he put into it, wanted to drive, with injuries, and worked on his own cars, and his own religion is really important to him, and those fans that connect with those ways want to pull for him. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite cars too. The black and white scheme. I really like that car.
Yeah, paint schemes and sponsors can give you fans too. That's really cool. Next one is from Chris. Says Davey died before I was born, but the more of him I watch on YouTube, etc., the more I become a fan. His humility, grace, and positive attitude were a bigger reason than even his immense talent. I'm inspired by his saying of "There's nothing me and the Lord can't handle together."
Wow, that's really true, Chris. Because without the Lord, we can't get nowhere. So, just everybody remember that.
Yeah, and I'm on the same boat with Chris because he died way long before I was born. But seeing those old videos, you can see like the type of person he was. You can learn a lot about him.
Yeah, it's really good that we got the technology now, got the YouTube and the internet, and you can really search the older drivers. And I think there's a lot of stuff that the new drivers can learn from the older drivers, and especially Davey, the way he treated his fans and his family, and they can learn a whole lot from him.
The next one is from Renee. Met at a racetrack promoted by my uncle at 99 Speedway in Stockton, California. The Allison brothers come race with our local guys and bring their families. We were all just kids. Great times I'll never forget.
That's good, Renee. You still got all the memories, and you actually got to meet the Allisons and race with them, and that's really good. That you always have the memories, so that's good.
Yeah, it's really cool. That they went back to the short tracks, grassroots tracks, and helped them out.
Yeah, because Kyle Larson, he goes during the week and doing outlaw stuff and some other races.
Yeah, Kyle Larson is the biggest advocate for that. He goes like every week, every day. It's like the gym for him. It's crazy. But Buddy Cat 12 on Twitter says, I met Davey in Allentown, Pennsylvania at an auto parts store in 1987. When he signed autographs, he asked what our names were to personalize the pics for us. The one guy with us, his nickname was Bup. So he tells Davey, sign it to Bup. Davey says, Bup, huh? Okay, sounds good to me.
That kind of shows kind of Davey's personality right there. He just want to joke with the fans and really, instead of just signing an autograph, he's like, what's your name? So he can just put your names on there. So that's really good. That tells a lot about Davey.
Yeah, and from personally meeting Brad Kozlowski, that kind of reminds me a lot of him. How wants to personalize your meet with them, and I think it's really cool for drivers to do is to make the fans feel a little bit more important. Make them feel like you're just a regular guy just driving a car.
Yeah, you mentioned Brad Keselowski. I believe I seen on Twitter that Liz kind of compared him to Davey, because in Pocono he went out to the campground and talked to the fans and give them away some stuff, and she's like, that's something that Davey would do. So that's really good. And
Donnie on Twitter says Davey had to work his way up. He was a racer. He could sweep the floors, build the car, set it up, and dang sure he could drive it. And when he wasn't in the car, always had time for his fans. As someone recently said, Davey Allison got it. And he has the hashtag running wide open and hashtag 28 forever. So that's really cool. Again, it's like everyone's saying the same thing. He was just a really nice guy with the fans and worked hard for everything he has. With everything, with the shop and the cars, and really wanted to take good care of it.
Yeah. I grew up, when Davey raced, and I never did get a chance to meet him. I wish I would like to. And I was reading his comments and stuff, and it's like, man, I really wished I would have got to meet him.
I just wish you could go back in time and meet him and talk to him. But Billy says Davey was the man. I met him several times over the years. He was always so laid back and easygoing. Made you feel very important. Davey's a champion in my book. There will never be another. Hashtag Davey forever.
Well, that's really good. Yeah, he did seem like he's laid back and easygoing, and he went everywhere with a smile. It's like he's always just happy. So it'd be good to see somebody just feel full of joy all the time like that. So It was really good.
Yeah, I think having that positive attitude, no matter how bad the race was or what's going on in your life personally, if you have that positive attitude, it's going to spread to the fans, and you can tell by the reaction here that a lot of people felt that way too.
Oh yeah.
And if you talk to a driver and they give you that positive vibe attitude, it's easier to talk to them, especially those fans that get starstruck and really nervous. It really helps them feel a bit more at ease.
Oh yeah.
This next one's from Philip. Davey was a winner on and off the track. He's a role model for young men, putting God first in his family, and come racing his racing family and friends. He was a true example of how to live and treat people. Stay humble, never forgetting where he came from. I still cherish his ways.
That's really good, Philip. That says a lot about Davey. No matter how popular he got in racing, he always treated everybody real nice and stayed humble, and he's just a good person.
Yeah, you can tell it's like, even though it's been years and years, since that tragedy, but he's still affecting these people's lives, and that really tells you how good of a person he really was.
Yeah, he really makes a good role model.
And A. Hurst on Twitter says, I am a huge Davey fan. I was 12 years old when I met Davey at North Wilkesboro. He was leaving the track and stopped to say hey and let me take his picture. He was so sweet. That memory will always be special to me, as I met my favorite driver that day. Now every time I pass by that track, I'll always go back to that memory of being at the track and meeting Davey for the first time. He was so nice that day to me, and I'll always remember him just like he was that day, smiling.
Wow, that's a big impact right there. Yeah, every time I go by North Wilkesboro, I wish I got to go there and watch a race, and I hope one day that they would bring the NASCAR race back to Wilkesboro.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool too. Do like to do the Darlington. There's a lot of the throwback schemes since it's the old track, and they brought it back, and so they can do some throwback schemes on that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Maybe the trucks could go to that track for like a throwback weekend, even if it's just 1 year. It'd be cool. But
and when I was thinking about doing the podcast on Why Fans Love Davey, and I kind of thought a little bit about you see today all the social media. You got Twitter, you got Facebook. And a lot of other social media, a lot of times we didn't have it back then, and as much as Davey loved the fans, you kind of think, how would he do on Twitter, and if he would be talking to the fans on Twitter, and, I started thinking about that, and, cause, really back then, you really couldn't watch all the races, you really couldn't one time you get to see what the driver did, you may see the news, and see the highlights of the race, and so nowadays you about every race, every practice, and everything's televised. So it's really good to keep up with your driver, and the sport has come a long way since then.
I feel like he'd be on Twitter like day and night if he had it back then. Like it would be, of how many people said he stayed at the track for hours signing autographs. I have a feeling he wouldn't even sleep on Twitter. Like, I think that's something he just really enjoyed, is just interacting with the fans, and it's crazy because you couldn't really learn much about your driver back then because it wasn't like Twitter or nothing. These people still had the same impact from meeting him personally, and everyone got to meet him and learn more about him that way.
Oh yeah, and I've talked to other people, and they talk about back then they went to go to the track, and other drivers just pass on by, but Davey, he would stop by and give you an autograph and talk to you a minute. So that really says a lot about him. We also want to give a big thanks to Liz Allison for allowing us to do this video and talk about Davey. We want to make sure we had her permission at first to give her the respect. And we just want to give her a big shout out and thank you for letting us do this.
Yeah, and the reason why we got most of these responses is because you retweeted our tweet, and I think that's pretty awesome for her to help us out there. And And just thank you for supporting us like that, and just an awesome support and positivity in this video. Learn more about Davey. I wasn't actually able to see him race in the day because I wasn't even born yet, but it's really interesting to learn more about him.
Oh yeah.
Thank you all for responding. We're sorry if we couldn't get to your tweets because there's a lot, but just know that we read all of them, and thank you for giving us some feedback. And next week, I haven't really had it planned for who we're going to be making a video about, but if you have any suggestions, your favorite driver, leave a comment down below who we should make a video on next week. It doesn't have to be a current driver. It could be all the way from the days from Richard Petty to Chase Elliott, whoever, as long as we haven't done one of them yet. But we'll see you next week. Hope you enjoyed it, and that's the video.